Elementary school, high school, university, they pretend to teach you a bunch of stuff, but by the end of it, there's actually only one lesson that they teach you, and it's a complete lie. But it's a lie that could destroy the rest of your life. What is it? Well, to find out, we have to take a critical look at what it's actually like being in school, all the way from elementary to university. So let's begin. We start with the childhood years, or as I like to call them, the ordeal. You perceive time so slowly at this young age that the days take forever. The weeks take forever. Every single weekend is like a short reprieve, but then you've got the next ordeal of a week coming up. It is just a terrible experience. At first, you're just panicking because you don't understand anything, but as soon as you sort of get into the rhythm of things, it's just this slog that takes forever. And then summer finally comes and your life is back to normal. You actually get to do things again. But you've got the lurking next year of school coming up, just looming in the distance. It just takes forever. During these years, nothing is properly explained to you. You have no idea why you're doing any of the stuff you're doing, but there is one thing that they absolutely won't let you forget, and that is that you have to do everything you're told. Children are very reliant on the adults around them, so if an adult disapproves of your behavior, it actually poses a pretty substantial threat to you. Like for me, when I was in that scenario, my brain was telling me, all right, these are the circumstances by which you sustain your existence. If you step even an inch out of line at any point, there are going to be consequences. They're going to be quick. They will happen randomly, and they could be potentially deadly. And if you don't lock in during elementary school like I did, there's always the chance of an ADHD diagnosis. Pretty sure ADHD just stands for this is boring. It's not a mental disorder to not want to listen to a fat middle-aged woman teach you elementary school English, sit in a desk all day. No, that's called having a brain. I didn't actually have a male teacher until grade 7, and yes, they are better, but I really can't blame the teachers here, because instead of it being a fulfilling educational role, as a teacher, you're mostly just babysitting the worst behaved students whose parents didn't raise them at all. And the social dynamics of elementary school are bizarre. You are forced to spend the time with the same group of students all year long. So truces are made, alliances are formed, friends and enemies are established, and all of this weird stuff. Recess is either like the best time of the day and you're just having a great time, or it's a dreaded time of the day where you're either going to spend time with a bunch of people you hate or with nobody at all. What's bizarre when I think about it is I remember some of the things I learned in elementary school, but I barely remember at all the process of learning it. There were projectors, there were sheets, worksheets, there were spelling tests and stuff, but almost nothing memorable happened at all during those years. The only parts I really remember was the complete and utter relief of the year-end parties that we had. It's like, oh, finally the year is over. And actually, I do remember the extracurricular activities, but I'll have to get into those later. Where I grew up, you would do elementary school from grade 1 to 7, and then you would switch schools to the high school. So let's move on to the teenage years. This is the LARP, where we all come together and pretend that our grades matter and pretend that the things that we're learning are actually important. See, this is actually where the waste of time becomes completely unreasonable. Because once you're a teenager, you have an idea of the things you're interested in, but instead of being able to actually focus on those things, you're going to be spending most of your time just preparing for the next assignment or test in whichever class is up next. The information you learn here is a lot more complex, but in a weird way, it's actually less useful than the elementary school information. Because once you know the basics of concepts behind English, behind mathematics, behind all of these other things, most of what you learn in high school is actually less applicable to real life. Like, sure, you learn some interesting things. I really like the sciences, the mathematics, the processes behind all of those things. They're all very interesting concepts, but I have not used a single one of those concepts in the past 6 years of my actual career outside of high school. All of this is sort of to absorb you into a world of theory and concepts. You're not actually learning anything practical. What you're learning is how to do school. And because of this, learning is very inefficient because you don't get to spend the actual time that you need to work on skills that you could use in a career. Like, how long does it take to get good at a skill? It can take years, but you really got to focus that time in. What high school does is it takes your opportunity to do that and pushes it another 5 years into the future. All right, so you spend all this time in school, you learn all of these concepts, but by the end of it, you have almost no marketable skills. You can't do anything with a high school degree. That doesn't qualify you for anything. And so you're almost an adult. and you have no concept of what living like an adult is actually like. You have never experienced any of it. They have not taught you anything about what to do, but they likely have taught you one thing. They've likely funneled you into your next step, which is to do more school. So it sounds like it's time for you to go straight to university. Ah, yes, university, or as I like to call it, the debt. Your experience in university is going to be all over the place depending on what you do there, what you choose to study, all sorts of things. But the biggest difference is now you're primarily responsible for the costs of your schooling. So quick thought experiment. If you were just out of high school and you had to make a, let's say, $7,000 purchase of some kind, something you choose to buy, how would you go about doing that? Well, you'd probably get a job of some kind, work it for as many hours as you can manage, save up that money over a period of time, and then you'd be able to buy the thing. After high school, you're not encouraged to spend some time saving up money. You're actually encouraged to spend your time and spend your money going to university. And if you're spending both your time and your money, normally you'd expect to get something pretty nice out of that. Like an example of that would be like an expensive vacation. It costs both time and money. But what do you get in university? Well, you get exams and textbooks. Oh, but the whole point of university is that you can use it to get a really high-paying job. And we do want to have competency barriers in place for fields like engineering. I get all this. I think there was a time where university was a valuable institution for allowing people to get better careers. But I don't think that's the case now. So why does the current system suck so much? I swear it's gotta be some kind of weird loan harvesting trap. Like you are given 12 years of education, but no concept on anything financial. You're funneled into this university and you're just encouraged to take out this loan with no idea about whether the career that you're going into is going to actually be lucrative, what the supply and demand of different careers look like in the place that you live. You don't know any of all of this, and they just say, yep, take out the loan. And it's got to be because these loans are partially funded or guaranteed by the government. Because of that and other reasons, the schools are taking very little risk. Like, who actually benefits in these scenarios? If I go to university and I hate it, it's just the worst experience of my life, but I go there for 2 years and I spend 2 years of tuition, and then I drop out, do I benefit at all as a student from those 2 years? Or does the university just benefit from my tuition? Or like, what if I go into a field that isn't very lucrative, I get the degree, but I'm unable to find a job, and now I'm slowly working some kind of entry-level job to pay off those student loans over a long period of time. Does the university care about that? I don't benefit at all from that if I'm in that scenario, but the university is still going to get their money somehow. As a product, university kind of sucks. As a student, I have to pay for the university. I have to actually do the schoolwork. I've got to do all of the exams. I've got to get the books. I've got to spend all of this time. And I have to incur the risks of me failing to achieve the degree. But like, what if the university is doing a bad job? Does that even negatively affect them in much of a way? Their reputation might go down a little bit, I guess, but if they're already using high school to funnel more and more students into them, or requiring degrees as a mandatory prerequisite for certain jobs, does it really matter at that point if they do a good job? Instead, these universities are going to be beholden to whoever is providing them the guarantees that those loans are going to be paid off one way or another. And that's going to be the government. So what they teach is partially going to be to ensure that they continue to receive that funding. We can't have anything in place that would tell students that it's a good idea for the universities to not be funded by the government. And that's how your institution turns into a loan harvesting propaganda machine. So let's say you've gone through all these years of school. What do you get by the end of it? Well, check the acronym. OLD. The ordeal, the LARP, and the debt. Congratulations, you have no more childhood, no more teenage years. Half of your young adult years are gone. I cannot emphasize enough the sheer wasted time. Like, you are now several years into your 20s, you've never had a job in your life, you have done nothing but school this entire time, you now have to start your career, and you're probably in debt. What's messed up is if you had any intentions of starting a family after all of this puts you in a really bad spot. For men a little bit less, but for women especially, because women have a lot more of a time limit on things like youth and fertility. So now you're already way behind on anything that you would need to start a family, and you've got to pay off your student loan debt before you're even ready to actually start profiting. at all. Oh yeah, and you have to navigate modern dating with almost no knowledge of relationships because for some reason parents stopped teaching that and school doesn't teach you anything about relationships. So you have absolutely been set up by this quote-unquote education system to fail in the realm of starting a family. All right, so let's bring this all together. I always like to say the true purpose of a system is what it actually accomplishes, and the gap between a system's stated purpose and what it actually accomplishes, they need to fill that gap with propaganda. So let's take a look at these time periods of school, what their stated purpose is, and what they actually accomplish, and see if we can find those gaps. For elementary school, the whole point is going to be, okay, we're providing students with some valuable basic education. It's available to all people regardless of their circumstances, right? Perfectly fine. This is all great, right, guys? What it actually accomplishes is it puts students into a bad environment filled with people they don't want to be around, filled with teachers that can't manage the students properly, filled with misbehaving students, and an environment that bores students, sometimes drugs students, or diagnoses them with mental issues. So then what is the true purpose of elementary school? I think the true purpose is to teach students blind obedience. Teach them that they have to spend time with people that they don't like. Teach them that their preferences don't actually matter, and that the adults in their life are going to make all of the decisions for them. Basically teaching that learning is this forced, painful process where their preferences don't matter at all, and they just have to do whatever they're told. High school, the stated purpose is we're going to provide you higher level education and prepare you for life as an adult. What does it actually do? Well, it wastes a whole lot of your time, teaches you general concepts that you can't use as any kind of marketable skills, and funnels you into the next step of your life being just some kind of post-secondary education. So, with all of that being the case, what is the true purpose of high school? Well, it's going to be to make students dependent on the adults around them for their education, for their direction in life. It's to gatekeep the actual concepts needed to become a useful member of society behind another layer of education. It also reinforces that you must spend time with people whether you like them or not, which maximizes the opportunity for bullying. And it just generally poorly prepares you for life as an adult. So then whatever adult in that person's life tells them to do next, they're just going to do it because they have no other direction. Stated purpose of university is to provide the education required for lucrative career opportunities and to use loans as a mechanism to open that up to everybody regardless of their finances. Wow, that all sounds great. The real result of that? Well, it wastes several years of your life on more school. It fills your degree with electives where you have to learn things that are not going to be relevant to what you're actually trying to study. It harvests as much money as possible from you. The true purpose of university? Harvest as much money as possible through government guaranteed debt. And with the bonus side effect of being able to propagandize people during the process and to delay the formation of families so that whole process just deteriorates as well. So let's bring this all together and find out what this ultimate lie that is being taught here is. So what are we actually being taught during this entire school process? The first thing we're taught is that learning takes forever and that it's not useful. They put you through all of this learning and almost none of it is actually applicable to anything that can make you any kind of money or benefit you in any real tangible way. They teach you that learning is painful because during this whole process, you're having to deal with teachers that have all of this power over you and like to exploit it in weird ways and just make your life miserable. They teach you that you have to spend time with people that you don't like or don't want to spend time with. There's all of this forced association with people that you don't necessarily want to be around. There's no voluntarism. Your preferences in both what you study and who you study with do not matter at all. And then finally, they also teach that the unknown is not something you can manage by yourself. You cannot discover things by yourself. You cannot learn by yourself using some other method. You have to use the predetermined rails that we've set up for you. There's only one way to learn something or to get a job in a field, and that's that you have to get this degree. And you have to be reliant on us, this whole system, as your only source of knowledge. Put these all together and you get the ultimate lie, which is that learning sucks. And I feel this on a daily basis because there are new things that I want to learn and I want to get excited about learning, but I have this creeping feeling that has been drilled into my brain that is like, if you go through this process, it is gonna suck from the start to the end. You should not even try. You lack what you need to do this on your own. And it's just these mental barriers just put in place one after another to stop me from learning. But I also mentioned extracurricular events, and there's this huge difference between regular school and the extracurricular stuff. I was a big part of band and choir growing up, and that stuff was awesome. But it was stuff that I chose to go into and could always choose not to go into. And there's a crazy difference there. Now I can go in more into depth into why these systems are set up the way that they are, but I'm gonna have to do that in another video because I've already said so much. There are so many interesting incentives creeping behind all of these systems that explain why they are the way that they are, and there's a lot to unpack there. But overall, my advice is for any of you in school, I implore you to take a look at what your options truly are. Look at alternatives. It's like I said in my RuneScape video. If you're a part of a system that does not serve you well, you have to look for an escape. You have to look for a different way of doing things. And the reason I'm so adamant about this is because this is actually what worked for me. I took 1 year of university in computer science after high school, dropped out, and then took a 3-month coding bootcamp course, which taught me everything that I needed to actually get a job as a web developer. And I did, months later, within the same year that I took the course. And I've been working in this field for like 5 years, and it's been very lucrative. So when I see people just on the rails of what they're told to do, never once actually making a decision that it goes beyond the default, I worry that that is going to have terrible effects on the rest of their life. So I 100% believe that learning can actually be a great process that can be incredibly rewarding, and you should not hold yourself back or feel like learning has to fit the mold of what it has in whatever system you grew up with. Just expand the opportunities that you will mentally allow in your own mind. I'll see you guys next time.